I want to talk about Modern Warfare 3 Zombies and some ways that this game mode could be improved. Now, I'm not saying that I dislike Modern Warfare 3 Zombies. In fact, I actually like Modern Warfare 3 as a whole, which I know is a little bit of a controversial opinion for some people, but I actually do really enjoy the game, and I do enjoy the Zombies mode. However, there are some ways that I believe this mode could be improved and made a lot better. Now, if you don't know me, I am Nels Gaming. Welcome to the channel, or welcome back to the channel, and in this video we're going to be going through 10 points that I personally believe would help improve the Zombies mode in Modern Warfare 3. So, starting off with point 1, I can't go anywhere in this video without talking about point 1, and that is fix the goddamn bugs. Oh my gosh, there are too many bugs with Zombies mode. Whether it's cars not spawning in and you have people driving around in invisible vehicles, connection issues, signed out of profile issues, crashes, glitching through the map, there are so many bugs and glitches with Modern Warfare 3 Zombies, and it's really unfortunate. My personal least favourite of all of these is the signed out of profile issue, and I know some people say it's a connection issue on, your end, but I have perfectly good internet. I've checked when I've been signed out of profile, I have no issues. It seems to be a completely random error, and it is incredibly frustrating as it causes you to lose everything that you had. If you were in a game mode and you get the signed out of profile issue, you will lose absolutely everything you had on you, as if you failed to exfil. This is incredibly frustrating and I absolutely hate it. Same goes with things like glitching through the map with things like the Red Worm boss fight. This is incredibly frustrating and it shouldn't be a thing. These things need to be tested and worked on so that they're not in the game. It's really frustrating to see things like this, and while some things are kind of minor, like I said, you'll see mercs driving around in invisible vehicles and stuff, I've seen that a few times, that might be fairly minor, but things like the signed out of profile issues and the crashes and stuff, that's quite significant when it's really impacting your gameplay when you end up losing all of your stuff and you have to go and then get geared up again. This is something really important and something that I think, I couldn't go anywhere in this video without talking about it. It's my number one thing is they need to work on these crashes, these glitches, these bugs a lot more and test things more thoroughly before putting them out to the live game. I was really disappointed to see so many issues, and it's something that gets really frustrating when you're just trying to play a few rounds of Zombies and then, oh, I've been signed out of my profile whilst literally doing a contract or, actively doing something in the game, not just stood doing nothing. You're actively doing something and then you get signed out for no apparent reason. It's incredibly frustrating, so I had to make this point number 1. Point number 2. Don't lose your inventory when you crash. I think if you crash or you get that signed out of profile bug or anything like that, and it just means that you can't exfil and you have no chance to exfil, that you shouldn't lose the stuff that you had on you. I think this is incredibly frustrating, as mentioned in point 1, and I think it would be a lot better if there was a way to restore the instance of what you actually had on you. There was something like this with DMZ towards the end in Modern Warfare 2, and that was something really nice, that when there was a game crash, it would restore your instance inventory and you'd actually be able to go back in with the gear that you had previously. So this is something I'd love to see implemented in the Zombies mode. Also, on the same note, increase stash slots. Why do we have such a limited amount of stash slots? There was a bit of a glitch where you could store more than the actual amount you're allowed to store at one point, but they fixed that, and so now you can only store the amount that you're supposed to be able to store, which is an incredibly limited amount. I think this should be increased because, if you're going in, doing contracts, getting rewards, you want to be able to stash them for future matches so that you can keep them and then go straight into a match with these items, and it's incredibly frustrating that there's such a limited amount of items you can actually store, so you end up having to destroy things or take them into a match when you don't really want to use them. So I think increased inventory stash slots would be a really, really good thing. Now, point 3 is something that maybe people might disagree with me on just a little bit. Now, before I talk about point 3, I want to make it very clear that I do not think I'm a great Zombies player. I do not think I am a very good player at COD in general. Modern Warfare 2 was my first ever COD game, so I'm still kind of new to things and still learning the ropes, especially with the Zombies mode. I'm trying my best and going through and learning as much as possible, But, you know, I'm not like a solo player who can go through and speedrun and solo things and stuff like that. I'm an average player, and this is coming from an average player's perspective. But I believe there needs to be better scaling with Pack-a-Punch Tier 3. And I believe this after trying many times with different weapons going into the red zone. Pack-a-Punch Tier 1 and Pack-a-Punch Tier 2 seem to scale pretty well with the zombies. You know, Pack-a-Punch Tier 1 against Tier 1 zombies, absolutely fantastic. Same with Pack-a-Punch Tier 2. But Pack-a-Punch Tier 3 seems to not scale as well. Now, I'm not saying make the Tier 3 zone easy. I'm not saying that at all. Everybody likes a bit of a challenge, that's why we go and do this stuff. But I do believe it needs to scale better. It's interesting. You'll see videos all over YouTube, and I'm sure I'm not the only one who sees this, where you'll see new best weapon, or this weapon is OP, or this weapon is broken. And those weapons are pretty good once Pack-a-Punch to Tier 3. Obviously using the ether tools as well to get the rarity up to epic or legendary to make them better. But generally just talking about Pack-a-Punching, you'll see things like that on YouTube all the time. All these different weapons that are supposedly broken or OP or whatever you want to call it. And they do pretty well. But if you take a weapon that isn't being talked about like this, and that's something I've done a lot and a mistake I've made a lot, then it just feels like you do next to no damage. The zombies are incredibly strong. The jump between Tier 2 and Tier 3 seems to be quite incredible for the zombies. And I'm not saying make the Tier 3 zombies easier or anything like that. I'm just saying, if you're spending all that time to get to Pack-a-Punch Tier 3, or you're using crystals to get to Pack-a-Punch Tier 3, those rare items, or all of that time in a match to earn all those points and get to Pack-a-Punch Tier 3, that I feel like the Pack-a-Punch Tier 3 should be stronger. I really do. You know, if you're spending all that time or those resources to get to a Pack-a-Punch Tier 3, you should be able to go into that zone and have a decently good chance of surviving. It feels to me like you go into that red zone, and unless you're using one of these really brokenly good weapons, or whatever you want to call them, OP weapons, anything like that you don't really stand that good of a chance, and I think that's a shame. And great, go and use one of those really OP weapons. I've been doing it. But then they get nerfed. I mean, look at the crossbow. The crossbow, I saw it all over YouTube. Go and use the crossbow, it's broken, it's OP, all this, that and the other. And then it gets nerfed. Why? Why can't we have fun? You know, it doesn't make sense to me. When we get good weapons, we actually find good weapons that are going to make survivability better in this zone, with that Pack-a-Punch Tier 3 and obviously the better rarity, and then it gets nerfed. It doesn't make any sense to me. So I think that the Pack-a-Punch Tier 3 needs to scale better with all weapons, so that there's maybe not so much of this weapon is extremely OP or this weapon is extremely broken compared to all the other weapons. I feel like if you have any weapon and you Pack-a-Punch it to Tier 3 and it has a decent rarity, you should stand at least a decent chance of survival. That's just my personal opinion. Now, I know people might disagree with me on that one, but I'd be really interested to hear what other people think, because I've been reading through comments and stuff on different videos, and it seems like other people do agree with this point, so I'll be really interested to hear what you guys think about that in the comments. Point 4. The map timer. Now, I'm not talking about the map timer with the storm timer included, where the storm is spreading towards the end of the game. I'm talking about the time before that, which at the moment is 45 minutes, and then you have 15 minutes with the storm spreading. I think that the base timer needs to be an hour or more, because it takes time to do things. Like mentioned in the previous point, trying to get enough points to go and Pack-a-Punch to Tier 3. If you don't have crystals or stuff like that, you're going to need time to get the points up and then actually be able to go and do things afterwards. At the moment, when we go in and grind contracts really hard to get to Tier 3 Pack-a-Punch, we normally have less than 10 minutes left before the storm starts spreading. And I think that that's really, really unfortunate, because it just feels like everything is so rushed, and that you're cutting down to the wire for every single game, and it just doesn't feel enjoyable. It feels really stressful, and I really dislike this about the zombies mode. It would be great if it could be over an hour, maybe an hour and a half as a base timer, and then you have the 15 minutes with the storm spreading. So I really think this is something that could be used to improve it, and I know that there's a lot of people that feel the same way about this. I've seen it in a lot of different comments as I've been looking through the internet, and I completely agree. It's so frustrating to be so limited with time that you can only do so many things, and that you're having to rush from point to point at an extremely frantic rate to try and get anything done. It's really, really frustrating. And if you're spending so much time to try and get to Pack-a-Punch Tier 3 or anything like that, you should at least have time to be able to then to use that in-game and go and actually do some stuff, rather than, oh, we've now got 5 minutes left before the storm starts spreading, we need to rush through this, and then we need to exfil. So I really do believe that there needs to be either a way to extend that timer, or get rid of it completely, which would be my absolute dream. Point 5. Why the fuck are wonder weapons on a 48-hour cooldown? Please stop. Like, why? Why is this a thing? This shouldn't be a thing. If you are managing to go out there, grind through contracts, and finally get one of these rare schematics to drop that allows you to craft these wonder weapons, it should not be a 48-hour cooldown that you then can't use them for. Like, it's so silly. You get to, craft one of these schematics, take a wonder weapon in for one 60-minute match, and then you have to wait a full 2 days before you can craft another one. Why? This is just bonkers to me. I do not understand why this is a thing. And before anyone says it would be super OP if you could craft them more often, like, it's not a competitive mode. Like, I don't understand. Why can't we have fun with the wonder weapons? From what I've seen from older Zombies games, you could use the wonder weapons way more frequently. Why are we so limited with being able to use the wonder weapons? I just don't get it. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. The wonder weapons are such a cool thing, and like I said, if you are going and grinding for these schematics and you finally get one of them to drop, you should be able to use these things far more frequently. Now, I'm not saying, okay, have no cooldown and you can craft as many as you want all the time, maybe, but make it way less, maybe an hour or two cooldown, something way more manageable, so that you can maybe rotate between different ones. So if you've got all 3 of the schematics that are currently in the game for the ray gun, the Wunderwaffe, and the Scorcher, if it was maybe a 2-hour cooldown, then you can rotate between the 3, then it would work better. But 48 hours is just ridiculous. Like, it doesn't make any sense. And the fact you can't exfil with them, so once you've taken them into a match and you've started using them, that's it. You've got 60 minutes to use it, and then once that time is up, boom, 48 hours before you can do it again. I just don't understand this at all. Like, this seems like such a poor design, so I really, really hope this gets changed. I really do. And from what I've seen, I feel like a lot of people agree with this point. From all the comments I've seen about the wonder weapons, I feel like most people agree with this. Now, I've seen some people that have said, if you've not got anything better to do for 48 hours, you must be unemployed, or stuff like that. But that's not the point. The point is, we want to have fun. I'm, not looking at this game, or this game mode, to be like, I'm going to be the best, and I want to do this and be super overpowered and all that. I just want to go and have fun. Like, that's the whole point. I really enjoy Zombies because it's not competitive and stuff. I really enjoy it because it is just go and have fun and shoot things. And I feel like that's being reduced. The fun that I can have is being reduced because of this 48-hour cooldown. So this is something I would love to see changed. Moving on to point number 6. Now, this is something I feel that a lot of people are going to agree with. Can we please have some better balancing with ammo mod frequency? It seems to be completely random. And I've had, saying using Deadwire for that one particular mission. I would have zombies stunned back to back at times. Literally one zombie stunned and then a few more shots on another and then it would get stunned. Literally back to back. And then there's been times where I've had no stuns or no effects from these ammo mods for ages, to the point where I've had to check that, the mod hasn't become unequipped by some random bug. Actually having to check, hey, do I still have this ammo mod on? Because it's been like, I don't know, 5 minutes and I haven't seen this effect take place. It seems to be completely random. I have seen people say it's a 15-second cooldown, it's a 40-second cooldown, it's this many shots, or it's that many shots. It's not. I've been playing, I've tried it, I've tried waiting 15 seconds, it hasn't taken effect, I've tried waiting 40 seconds, it's not taken effect. It seems to be completely random. Like I said, I have literally had it on back-to-back zombies where I have seen 2 stunned at the same time from my shots. and then just none for several minutes. Now, it does say that there's a small chance that the effect will actually take place, but it just needs to be some kind of better frequency, something a bit more predictable, because those missions are a real pain to get done with it being as seemingly random as it is. You know, I made the one video talking about how I actually managed to get the stunning mission done with the dead wire ammo mod, but that was such a pain. It's such a pain when you just can't predict how often these things are going to take place, or, you know, it's not with an improved frequency. So this is something I really would love to see altered in some way, shape or form. Either make it more predictable, so you know, okay, once every 10 seconds I'm going to have a shot that this actually happens with, or, you know, it's just more frequent in general. I feel like either of those things would make this significantly improved, and yeah, I'd love to hear what you guys think about that. Moving on to point number 7, vehicles and damage dealt by zombies. Can we please have some better scaling for the amount of damage dealt by zombies to ordinary vehicles? Now, before I go any further with this, yes, I know Bloodburner exists. However, Bloodburner is extremely rare to the point where I have spent many sessions dedicated purely to going and looking for this bike, and I have never found it. The only 2 times I have seen this bike, it's been in the hands of other players. I have spent so long going through maps, driving around, going to every little spot, looking for this bike, and I've never once found it. It is one of my biggest goals, is to find this bike and do a little bit of recording with it, because it looks incredible. But even that's been nerfed, which is just, you know, a side point. Why? Why has it been nerfed? It's such an incredibly rare thing to get hold of. Why has it been nerfed? But going back to my original point, vehicles and damage dealt by zombies. I feel like the damage dealt by zombies to vehicles is way too high. Like, I can understand maybe with the armoured zombies, because of course they're wearing, like, the metal plates, but for just ordinary zombies, why are they made of titanium? Like, why do they deal so much damage to the vehicles? It's really, really annoying. And yeah, you can say, okay, just don't hit the zombies. Yeah, that's all well and good, but they spawn literally in front of you as you're driving. You won't get more than maybe half a second before you have to try and swerve, because they are literally spawning right in front of the vehicle every time. And it's so incredibly frustrating to constantly have to be changing vehicles because, you know, damage is critical and now the vehicle's on fire. Like, I'm not saying make the damage nothing, I'm not saying make the zombies do no damage to vehicles, but maybe like half it or something I think would be a lot better. It's just, it feels so unnecessary. And okay, yes, I understand maybe they're trying to make it so people don't just go and run over hordes of zombies. But again, why? Why can't we just go and run over hordes of zombies? Why can't we have fun? Like, I don't understand why this isn't okay. Yeah, again, I'm not saying make them do no damage if you're running over a horde. Yeah, okay, make them do some damage to the vehicle. But it just feels like you can't hit very many zombies with an average vehicle before it's doing so much damage that you need to go and get a different vehicle. And I feel like this is just more of a nuisance than anything else. I don't feel like this is something for gameplay balance that needs to be a thing. And obviously, like I said, Bloodburner's a thing that obviously gets no damage dealt to it by zombies because you sort of feed the bike by killing zombies. But it's so rare. It's so rare. Most people aren't going to be getting it, and certainly aren't going to be getting it every match. So can we please have some better zombie damage scaling with the normal vehicles, please? Point 8. Please, for the love of fuck, can things stop getting unpinged constantly? We can do this ourselves. We can unping and ping things ourselves. So can you stop with the unpinging things constantly? I will be in the middle of trying to run to a vehicle to get away from zombies, and then the vehicle stops being pinged. Why? Why has my ping disappeared? Why? Why, game? I can unping it myself if I want to. Just don't unping my stuff that I'm going to look for. And on the same note, stop pinging the locations of every goddamn story extraction automatically shortly after joining a game. Because I will get into a game and the first thing I do is ping the nearest contract or the nearest vehicle so that I can get going immediately. Because again, we're on a timer here, we have to try and be as quick as possible. So that's the first thing I do, is ping the things that I'm looking for, and then, oh, like 30 seconds later, Do you want to go to the Zakhaev extraction? Do you want to go to this extraction? Do you want to go to this extraction? No, I don't want to go to the story extractions. Please stop pinging them. And then I'll re-ping the vehicle or re-ping the contract. And again, after a short amount of time, it gets depinged, which is just silly. Like, it's silly. You don't need to do that. You really don't need to have the game automatically pinging every single story extraction, not just one, but every single one, and constantly removing your personal pings for things, you know, that you're trying to get to. I find this so incredibly frustrating, and I know it's a minor thing, and it's like more of a quality of life thing compared to some of the other things in this list, but it drives me nuts. I really, really hate it. It's just something that every single match, I'll be in the middle of driving somewhere. Oh, my ping's disappeared. Can I have to stop, re-ping it, or get someone else in the group to re-ping so that I know exactly where I'm going? It's just beyond frustrating. Please stop. Moving towards the end here, and point number 9, why can't we exfil with certain things? Why can't we exfil with turret circuits? Why can't we exfil with weapons keeping their rarity, or maybe even their pack-a-punch? Why can't we exfil with extra kill streaks or extra self-revives? I don't understand this. This is, again, something that's really frustrating. Again, we are on a timer at the moment. I really hope that gets changed or, you know, extended. But talking about the game as it is right now, we're on a timer. And if you get, you know, say 3 extra kill streaks from doing contracts, you should be able to exfil with those, put them in your stash, so that you can keep them for later. Same with self-revives. I have had matches where I've got like 3 or 4 self-revives, and I'm not using them, so I want to take them back and stash them so that I can have them to take into another game. I'm so frustrated that when I try to exfil with them, they get removed. It doesn't make sense. Like, it just simply doesn't make sense why those items get removed. And, you know, talking about keeping maybe the rarity, at least, of weapons, that would be really nice, or the pack-a-punch. Again, you spend all that time in a match working to get your weapon to a certain rarity or a certain pack-a-punch level. And then, as soon as the map timing, you know, runs out and you've had to exfil, it's gone. And then you have to go into the next game and start all over again. It would be really great if you could keep a pack-a-punch level or a rarity tier for maybe 2 or 3 matches. So that, you know, okay, go in one match, get your weapon to legendary rarity and pack-a-punch 3, and then exfil with that, and then you can redeploy with that for the next 1 or 2 sessions. I think that would be so good, and it would make things so much better. Like, being able to then jump in and go straight to tier 3 or tier 2 or whatever would be so fantastic, rather than constantly every single match being put back to square one in terms of your rarity and your pack-a-punch. I feel that that would be so good. And same thing, like, if you can take in extra self-revives, you know, gear yourself up. Go in one match, get your weapon pack-a-punch to tier 3, get your legendary rarity, get yourself the Juggernaut kill streak, and get a few self-revives, and then you're geared up, ready to go into the tier 3 zone for the next match. How fantastic would that be? Now, I know people are getting around this with the tombstone glitch. From what I've heard, I don't really do glitches and stuff. I don't really look into that, so I'm not an expert on it. But I have seen the comments floating around about doing the tombstone thing, and, you know, being able to stock up on different things and your points and stuff by dying and leaving a tombstone, etc. But, you know, that's not something I'm really interested in, and I feel like there should be a way within game that's sort of more, how do I say it, encouraged. You know, it's not necessarily like a glitch or, you know, trying to leave as many tombstones as possible, but, you know, it's more official that you can stash these extra items, these extra self-revives, these extra kill streaks, whatever, and then be able to put them into your backpack and, you know, deploy with them again. I think that that's something that would be a huge quality of life thing and would make this mode a whole lot more enjoyable. I would love to hear what you guys think about this, but I personally think it would be really, really cool. Now, moving on to my 10th and final point for this video. I believe that there needs to be something more to do in the zombies mode, other than constantly completing contracts. At the moment, the game kind of feels like you're always just working for upgrades to do harder contracts. You know, you're constantly working to get out of tier 1 to get into tier 2, and then out of tier 2 into tier 3, just to do harder and harder contracts, without there being really that much of a reward. You know, you go and you do the harder contracts, you get a better schematic for, you know, being able to use in future to do those harder contracts. It doesn't feel very rewarding. And something I've seen a few times popping up in comments, which I really do agree with, is with the, you know, the update that we got for Season 1 with the Dark Aether, it kind of feels like you need the schematics and the items that you can get from the Dark Aether to do the Dark Aether, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Now, again, I'm not the best player. I know there are people going in there and soloing it, and, you know, all this amazing crazy stuff with limited gear and, you know, not having the schematics and stuff already, which hats off to you if you're doing that. That's really incredible, and I applaud you 100%. I think that that's awesome, and I love watching people do it. However, if you are basically not the best player like me, or you're just an average player, you know, it's frustrating. It's frustrating because it feels like you're constantly going into this and then just dying. I feel like that with the tier 3 zone constantly, if I'm honest, which probably shows my skill level, but it feels like, okay, I'm working to get better and better gear so that I can get into the tier 3 zone. I get to the tier 3 zone, I get a schematic, yay. Now I can go and do maybe part of the tier 4 stuff with the Dark Aether. And it's like, okay, then what? Okay, go and do the tier 4 stuff with the Dark Aether, get more schematics. Do you see what I mean? It just feels like the same process. You're just constantly working to get better gear to do more contracts. It doesn't feel very rewarding overall in terms of gameplay. I feel like there needs to be something that we're working towards. And obviously doing harder and harder content, that's great. But, and you know, doing new bosses and stuff, that's really cool. And new areas. But I feel like it would be cool if there was something else to do as well. Something extra. Something that made it worth going and getting all these different schematics. Whether that be some kind of round-based, where you could then take all your gear in and see how many rounds you could survive. I think that would be cool. Also, side note, I think the Dark Aether area would be a really, really cool area for round-based. But, you know, I just feel like there needs to be something else. Because at the minute, it just feels like contract completing simulator or schematic completing simulator, which I just feel like there needs to be more. And obviously I've still got things I need to do. I've said that I'm not the best player. I've still got schematics I need to get. I'm still trying to get some of the schematics to drop in tier 2 because they're not dropping for me because I've had such bad RNG. But, you know, it just feels like, okay, now I've got that schematic, now I need to go and look for another schematic. I hope that makes sense, and I would really love to hear, you know, what you guys think, your ideas about what extra content there could be, like what could we be working towards with getting all these different schematics? What would you like to see as like extra content that we can take all these schematics in to go and do? You know, whether it's some form of raid or round based or whatever. I'd love to hear what you guys actually think about that. And yeah, it's going to be really, really interesting to read through these comments. I know I'm probably going to get some amount of get good comments because yeah, you know, honestly, yeah, I do need to improve my skill level, and I'm working on it. I'm doing some stuff solo. A lot of the stuff I do with my partner, so we're in duos rather than trios. And, you know, I'm working at, you know, playing the game and getting better and better over time. And yeah, okay, fair enough. If you're going through and you're absolutely smashing the tier 3 zone or the Dark Aether, like I said, hats off to you. You're, you know, a much better player than I am, and I'm more than happy to admit that. But I do feel like these points, these 10 points, could really help to make the game something more substantial and just feel better to play than it is right now. And like I said, no hate for the zombies mode at all. I've been playing it since release. I really enjoy it. It's a good laugh. But, you know, with these points, if we could have these things as well, I think it would be so much more enjoyable. And, you know, maybe you have something else that you want to add to this list, or maybe tweak something that I said and, you know, change it a little bit. Please leave those ideas down in the comments. I'm going to ask, you know, try and keep things civil between everyone because that would be ideal. And yeah, just try and keep the comments nice between each other. But post your ideas, talk about it. I think the more that, you know, ideas get talked about and things get asked for and requested, maybe we will see certain things change. And, you know, without talking about things and actually putting these points across to each other and discussing it as a community, nothing will ever change. So I think it's very important to talk about, and that's why I made this video. Kind of sticking my neck out, knowing that I might get, you know, a little bit of slaughtered in the comments because I'm not the best player ever, but here we go. I'll post this video and I'd love to hear what you guys think about it. Thank you so much for watching and for all your support, as always, to everyone who constantly supports the channel. I really do appreciate it. And yeah, that's going to be it for this one. Like I said, I look forward to reading all your comments. I'll do my best to respond to as many as possible, as I always do, and have as many discussions as possible. But that is going to be it for this one. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you.